Chris, can you kind of explain to us a little bit more of the multi-channel, network format, and what is it that a network offers a channel that entices a channel to join a network?
Sure, and it embodies itself in a lot of different ways, but typically it's a pretty simple story. More audience, more money, right? And you have to be obsessively focused on doing those two things for your network. You do it in a variety of different ways. One of our strongest ways of growing audience actually fits into our own strategy. So for example, we take all these channels and we actually organize them by particular vertical categories of content, right? So comedy, music, lifestyling, and sort of gaming or geek culture. And you create brands around those particular segments segments of channels. And then at the center of each one, you create an owned and operated channel, very, very much like what Brian has done. And that owned and operated channel, you're creating different types of programming, and you're often including a lot of the channels from within the network, or the artists from within the network who have channels, and you're kind of using it as a hub to create an ecosystem of growing audience, for example. That same strategy has an effect on the way that you are able to monetize for the entire network and grow the amount of money they make. We really believe that advertisers want to be adjacent to great programming and great brands, and when you create a great brand and you bring the artist channels underneath that halo, then we have a direct sales force that's going to go out and actually get higher CPMs than, for example, YouTube would be just selling more broadly audience. I mean, narrow audience, but across a broad audience. So that's a really important strategy for growing as well. I often like to say, look, we're in the business of monetizing influence and brand. And you're not just going to do that on YouTube. YouTube is a component. YouTube has something that no other platform has in the world, which is the ability to make something go viral. So it's really important that you're there because you can create a hugely scaled audience. But then you have to layer in lots of different business models on top of this, both on behalf of your artists and for your own brands. You have to do things like merchandise, which is actually very low-hanging fruit. You have to do things like connecting, for example, with Epic Rap Battles, I bring it up a lot, but the truth is it's like we've been able to create millions of downloads of iTunes songs from that show that create an incremental revenue stream, both for us and the artists. So we've just, this is something that major media companies have been doing forever, right? I mean, now Brian is at DreamWorks Animation. They're the king of monetizing brand, and that's something that we're just sort of scratching the surface of. So we feel like YouTube in and of itself has an advertising business model that can be a component of an overall monetization strategy, both for the artist channels and our own channels, but that ultimately you really have to expand beyond that. And that could be repackaging the content and syndicating, like Jon is doing. I mean, there's just so many different ways to extract value out of these great brands and content.